Let's get to know our world. The first primitive rifle-like weapon in world history was produced in China in the 10th century. The direct ancestor of firearms and shoot the spear, called this invention is used with the help of a spear-tip kindled gunpowder tubes. Once development of the principle of igniting placed into a barrel of shrapnel, gave the first prototype of the emergence of guns in the sense we have described today. Spear-like structures used as bullets in these first prototypes turned towards their target in the form of fireballs after exiting the barrel. This technology, which developed after the Chinese invented black gunpowder in the 9th century, later spread to the Middle East, Africa and Europe. Weapons produced with this technology were used for the first time in 1132 in the Jinsong War in China, according to existing sources. The Chinese took this technology even further and began to produce gunpowder containers made of bamboo from more durable metal. In addition, in order to increase its explosive power, they increased the potassium nitrate ratio of gunpowder in the propellant part of the rifle and managed to develop the propulsion force by ensuring that the bullet completely obstructed the end of the barrel. 3. However, because of the difficulty of using them in individual conflicts in these years, instead of small fired barrels, firing systems for field attack, which we call today as cannon, came to the fore. The first example of handheld rifle systems we have is the weapon called the Heilongjiang hand cannon, which the Chinese used against the Mongols in 1288. The first firearm outside of China was used in the Battle of Ain-i Khalid. The first firearm outside of China was encountered in the Battle of Ain-i Khalid between the Mongols and the Mamluks in 1260. In this war, the Mamluks used the cannon for the first time in history against the Mongols. Gunpowder and firearms began to spread to Europe from the 13th century on the Silk Road with the effect of the Mongol invasion. Firearms were first used in Europe in the Siege of Calais. Although artillery shells were used by the British in the Siege of Calais 1346–47 for the first time in Europe, the soldiers' use of firearms as individual handguns took place in Italy towards the end of the 14th century. These handballs, which Italians call scioppi, are the first useful examples of today's handguns. In the same years, the Ottoman and Altınordu Turks were closely interested in firearm technology. The Russians met with the rifle thanks to the Golden Horde state. That is why the Russian word for rifle used as tyufyaki, Russian, tufaki, is an extract from Crimean Tatar. The Ottomans established the first operations with rifles in history. At the end of the 15th century, the Ottoman Empire, which organized certain divisions of normal infantry units as special rifle troops, was the first state in history to establish operating units with rifles. Again in the 15th century, the Ottoman Empire developed the first heavy bombardment weapons called shahi, which changed the history of World War. These cannons, called sahi, showed that this technology, which was used to prevent new fortifications on the walls until then, could actually be used to demolish the thick castle walls. To elaborate the use of the rifle in the Ottoman Empire, this issue is explained in the Istanbul University Faculty of Letters Journal of History as follows: although it is not possible to determine a true date about the first year of use of the rifle in the Ottoman Empire, it is known that the rifle was used in the Düzmece Mustafa incident in 1421, the conquest of Thessaloniki in 1430 and the siege of Sivrihizer in 1442. Cannons and rifles were widely used in the Varna War in 1444. 2. The rifle came to the fore in the Hungarian expeditions during the Murat period. It is understood that the rifle was adopted in the Ottoman army in this period. According to the archive documents, it is seen that the Ottoman Empire produced rifles in Islimi and Gabrova. In short, the first primitive rifle in world history was invented in China in the 10th century. This rifle was in the form of a small handheld cannonball. The pioneering production of rifles as we know them today appeared in Italy towards the end of the 14th century. For the first time in the history of the world, special rifle troops were established by the Ottoman Empire in the second half of the 15th century.